Greetings everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm your host Captain Rye, and today's YouTube video is going to be a subscriber submitted replay. This one comes from Archer 6155, who is in his Graf Bay. Now the Graf Bay, premium tier 6 German cruiser, known as a bit of a pocket battleship. At the very least, that's what the British classified it as during World War II, but that really isn't correct. Of course, it's not correct because, well, it doesn't technically have battleship caliber guns, as they're only 11 inches, which is below the Washington Naval Treaty size limit set, and doesn't have the armor of a battleship. Really, the armor on this ship, even in game, modeled very much so as a medium or heavy cruiser, depending on how well it's angled. So, as the battle gets underway, it's the Shards match, and it's domination match mode. So far, Archer has managed to secure a nice fat citadel on this Aoba, who is sitting up here at the A cap point. Surprisingly enough, his team isn't trying at all to take the C cap point, and that's actually kind of unusual considering the side of the battle he spawned on. Normally, you see teams on that side push C, well, teams on the other side push A, and B ends up being kind of the contested spot. Not the case this time. Yeah, he manages to get his torpedoes away and hit that Aoba for a torpedo, and the Aoba is now flooding. The question is, can he get his guns reloaded fast enough to secure himself a first blood? Come on, shots out there. No! His shots get taken just seconds too late to secure that first blood on that Aoba, which he did so much damage to. That's just crushing. I hate when that happens. Friendly destroyers laid a smokescreen, though at this point that smokescreen kinda worthless, so Archer's not going to slow down and stick inside of it. The Graf Bay has the advantage of having these larger caliber guns. These guns are really effective against cruisers and fat destroyers. But there's only 2 turrets. There's only 6 of them total. So if you get one of your gun turrets knocked out, you're kind of in a really bad situation. The turrets also reload a lot slower than a lot of people are used to playing with cruisers. The choice between the Graf Bay and the Scharnhorst, if you're going to buy one or the other, you should go with the Scharnhorst, because it's got much better armor. As you saw here, he just took a citadel from that Tier 5 battleship. If he was in the Scharnhorst, it would have probably just bounced right off of his belt armor. This is one of those issues with the Graf Bay. It tends to get hit, and it tends to get hit hard. However, because it is a heavy cruiser, when you angle your armor against other heavy cruiser guns, you can actually do a reasonable job of bouncing shots. And because you have the larger caliber guns, you can easily overmatch the armor on most Tier 5 and Tier 6 cruisers that you run across. Enemy CV is trying to get torpedoes off at our hero here, and it looks like, ooh, is he gonna get hit? Ooh, that's very close indeed. The turning circle there, a little bit large, does manage to avoid it. The enemy team is so far managing to succeed on having the base capped at B, and the fact that there for a while they were up on ships as well. However, even though the teams are still fairly equal, the fact that they're still not capping, or have now only just capped one of the bases, means the enemy team is going to have that points advantage. And that points advantage early on like this, well, that can really cost you a lot. And it can certainly mean that your games don't go very well. He's got a ship turned and angled away here. He's using the island for cover. As he's got his hydro up, he can see an enemy cruiser coming down that channel. Now, the friendly cruiser up here takes a hit, but manages to avoid getting taken out. And he's just laying in wait for this cruiser to come around the corner. That cruiser takes a huge hit, 2 big citadels. And it looks like those friendly torpedoes from that cruiser are going to take him out. Nope, they just barely miss him. Ooh, that's very unfortunate. Friendly cruiser gets taken out, and our hero is trying to run away from those torpedoes, but he does take out the cruiser. The friendly cruiser who was sitting back behind that island, honestly, as soon as that guy was showing around the corner with the torpedo lead indicator, he should have fired his torpedoes and then immediately hit full throttle and buggered off. As a result of his immobility, friendly team still struggling to get any kind of ship's lead. And as you can see, the enemy team is still up on points, but the teams are very, very close together. Another enemy cruiser has decided he's going to provide his broadside to the Graf Bay. If there's one thing that I can say if you're playing against this ship, it's don't provide broadsides. Yes, this ship might have a cruiser icon, but again, those guns. And unlike the Scharnhorst's guns, these guns, very tight dispersion because they're on a cruiser this time. So he's putting more rounds into this Nuremberg up here, and he's doing reasonable damage even though that ship is angled. Then again, the Nuremberg, light cruiser, light armor, and it has a very big citadel on the rear end of the ship. His team loses yet another ship, and the enemy team is just about to cap out on the sea. So now the enemy team has a points advantage, they have a ship advantage, and they have a cap advantage. This game is not looking very good for Archer. Enemy CV is going to continue to harass him with planes this entire battle, but for whatever reason, the CV decides he doesn't want to take the opportunity to drop torpedoes on Archer, and you know what? That carrier really going to regret this decision later in the game. The other thing that you might notice about the Graf Bay, if you haven't played it yet, if you don't have it for some reason, you weren't able to get it through the Hunt for the Graf Bay missions, is that it has a heel like British cruisers. That's kind of a little bit of the homage to the whole, well, it's a pocket battleship. So it does have that heal ability, and that's actually really a necessity. And in a cruiser like this, that heal ability is actually going to come in handy. Now, he manages to take out that Nuremberg. And, you know, you could have avoided taking a little bit of that damage if you'd angled the ship just a little bit better. Would have bounced a few more of those shots rather than take maybe some of that damage. Friendly battleship gets taken out. That cruiser up there is almost dead. The question is, can the friendly ship up there take out that cruiser before he gets taken out? Ooh, this is not looking good. And I think he's firing high explosive at that guy. In fact, he is. Archer manages to secure his third kill on that enemy cruiser, who's very low HP. But the team's situation is still very bad. Both sides have 3 ships at this point. And there is the enemy destroyer. This could be a problem. A destroyer still alive this late in the game. Very dangerous. Hits him for a big amount of damage, that destroyer, on 13 HP. Wow, 13 HP, and he is very salty, as you can see there in the chat. All he really needs to do is hit him with 1 shell. Unfortunately, that destroyer as salty as he is, has popped his smokescreen and hit his speed boost, and he has just disappeared off outside of hydro and detection range so he can survive. And he is going to survive this battle. But the team situation, as I was saying, not very good. The enemy team still has that destroyer, and even on 13 HP, that destroyer could be a very big problem. And they still have the aircraft carrier, who has been hiding somewhere this whole battle, and somehow, some way, still has a lot of airplanes left, which is kind of surprising. So, the fact that they have a destroyer and the CV means this is definitely a very difficult situation for his team. And his team have just lost another cruiser. So now they are down to 2 ships to the enemy's 3, and the enemy is way up on those points. Just look at that points difference. Plus, they had 2 caps. Now Archer is going to go ahead and continue capping B, even though that destroyer is still somewhere back around there and spotting him. So he knows he's back up there. He's got to watch very carefully for torpedoes. He takes a shot out there at the enemy cruiser and manages to hit him for a citadel. And here come the enemy aircraft carrier's planes once again. Graf Bay, not the fastest cruiser, 28 knots. It's actually very slow. I mean, it goes as fast as battleships. So the turning speed on this ship, not the best. And it looks like the enemy CV's gonna get him with a torpedo, possibly 2. Can he avoid taking more than 1? He gets hit by 1. Enemy aircraft carrier coming in again with more torpedoes. Come on, crank that ship over, crank it over. Oh no, that's... ouch. Ooh, very painful indeed. He manages to preserve his damage control ability until the danger has passed, and that's actually saved him there rather than just popping it right away. He manages to put out the fire, put out any of the flooding, but you'll notice he has no more heals. None at all. Now, I don't know what his captain skills are. If he's using Superintendent and Premium, I think he can have an extra one if he's not already doing that. But this is very tight. He's not got a lot of health left, and he has no way to repair anymore. So any more damage he takes could be the end of it. Friendly cruiser does manage to take out the enemy cruiser, basically tying up the teams once again, but the enemy team still has sneaky underaged boat, and they still have an aircraft carrier that has plenty of aircraft left this late in the game. Because he was detected there briefly, not entirely sure where this destroyer is located, he decides he's going to pop his hydro once again. But looking at the situation and looking at the time left, the only way his team has any hope of winning is to either kill everything or cap C. And if they cap C and they don't lose any ships, they should be able to gain enough points in the end to win it. Arguably, even if they just hang on to these 2 cap points and the enemy only has 1, again, they can still theoretically gain enough points to win it. Enemy aircraft carrier sending more planes back over, and unfortunately Archer, he's kind of isolated out here. Friendly cruisers, anti-aircraft can't help him. Enemy CV, however, looks like he's doing a manual, looks like he's doing an auto drop. Ooh, barely avoids getting hit by torpedoes. RNGesus be praised as those dive bombers managed to miss him there. Now he is going full speed ahead on these turns, and that does manage to get him clear of the torpedo on the second drop. But as I was saying, it looks like the enemy carrier there is doing an auto drop, because those drops are very far out. If he was doing a manual drop on those, he probably could have gotten a lot closer and maybe done a cross drop with both of his and guaranteed a hit. Looking at how low health Archer is, one hit, probably all it would take. So the Graf Bay has its torpedoes, it's got its main caliber guns, but it is very, very fragile and a very slow ship by comparison for a cruiser. Definitely not a ship that you want to play by yourself, if at all possible. The torpedoes on it, however, are incredible. They are 8-kilometer torpedoes, and you get 4 per side. And just look at those torpedo arcs. Just look at those torpedo arcs. Oh my god. You can basically cover almost every angle of the ship, so you don't have to turn very far to get your torpedoes away at an enemy target from both sides. He does fire off a set of torpedoes back over there, maybe seeing if that enemy destroyer is going to try and sneak into B, just try and sneak up around him. Friendly cruiser up there, he's got more health, and here come the enemy aircraft again. This time the aircraft carrier deciding he's going to go for this enemy cruiser, probably because that cruiser is getting a little too uncomfortably close to him. However, you'll notice that in the chat, they're constantly trying to tell this guy to cap C, because he was the closest to C. But he's just sailing in a straight line. He's making no effort in chat to communicate at all. And given the way he's playing, and you'll notice here as he takes torpedoes from that carrier, that he doesn't pop a damage repair ability. As I was watching this replay, I actually thought that this guy might, in fact, be a bot. Now, if he dies, friendly team is going to lose more points, and that's going to give the enemy team the points advantage. Ooh, and at this point in the battle, that's very, very dangerous. The question is, where did the enemy destroyer go? That enemy destroyer disappeared off somewhere back behind B. The enemy team pointed out that he was sitting somewhere between A and B. But the destroyer opted to not go cap A, and that decision, especially considering that there's only one of them left now, who is capping C, so you know exactly where he's at. That decision by that destroyer to basically just give up and rage quit is going to result in a loss. You know, there's two things that could have dramatically changed the outcome of this battle for the enemy team. They could have tried doing manual drops with the torpedoes, and their destroyer could have gone, and rather than rage quit because he was dropped down to 13 HP, could have in fact capped something back. Archer manages to cap the C cap point just in the nick of time to, again, dodge torpedoes. And he's moving very slow, and oh my god, RNGesus be praised once again. How many firstborn children did you have to sacrifice in order to get RNG dispersion like that? Again, one dive bomber hit would have probably been enough to kill you. Manages to torpedo beat again, and this time his team has all 3 cap points. As the clock runs out, they are now in the points lead because of this. God damn. This was one of the closest matchups I've ever seen, and one of those situations where I was looking at it halfway through the battle and wondering how the hell Archer and his team were going to pull it back and win it. 82,000 damage in a tier 6 maximum battle, and a tier 6 cruiser is not a bad game at all. Look at the number of planes he shot down, 12 of them, and yet the carrier still kept sending them. Archer, top of his team for XP earned, well over 2,000 base XP. So all in all, a very good game for him. That kamikaze, or that kamikaze that survived the battle down there, he really didn't do a lot to help his team there, as he's near the bottom. And when you're in a destroyer like that, you should really be closer to the top. In fact, the enemy aircraft carrier did an excellent job that game. Anyway, that's it for today's video, folks. If you like the video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. If you'd like to get semi-regular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following me on Facebook. If you'd like to help support me and my channel, I encourage you to do so by visiting my Patreon. If you'd like to watch me play World of Warships and other games live on my live stream, you can do so by following my Twitch channel. And if you've got a replay like this one you'd like to see up on my channel with my wonderful voice and commentary, you can send it to my email. You can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.